Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Hope you're having a good day. It was really beautiful in Maine today with sunny skies and clear and everything. And then about an hour ago, it just started to get gray out there. The clouds, it's overcast now, and it's kind of caught people off guard because they were outside today mowing yards and stuff. Grass is already coming back nice and green and everywhere, and I just it's like wow. But I guess I shouldn't be surprised. It is Maine, and Maine does get these extreme changes in weather here, and with global warming, that's probably going to be exacerbated even further in years to come. So it is what it is. So I have a video today from the Humanist Report. And he's going to be talking about something very heinous here that happened to a 4-year-old child who is a U.S. citizen and was deported. And if that wasn't bad enough, the poor kid has stage 4 cancer. And because his mother was the reason apparently why they deported the kids wouldn't leave the mother, and I guess that's the excuse that Tom Homan's putting out. So let's go to that video. It's 19 minutes long. I know it's long, but I'd rather you get more detail from the video than I could possibly provide. So let's watch this here, and then we'll come back and discuss that video.
Even though it feels like years since Trump was first sworn in, we are only approaching the 100th day of his second administration, believe it or not. Now, he has caused so much chaos and destruction that I don't think anything else going forward is going to surprise us. Sure, we'll see new lows, but I think that anyone who's paying attention is expecting the worst at this point. I mean, just last week, his administration arrested a judge, and the day after that, his team started selling Trump 2028 merch. Were you surprised by that? I don't think so. Was I surprised by that? No. Now, the week before that, Trump's counterterror czar floated the idea of charging political opponents with terrorism. Not to mention, the official White House Twitter account tweeted a photo of Trump holding a clearly doctored image of tattoos on Abrigo Garcia's hand to, I guess, prove that he's a member of MS-13. I don't know who this is for, but that's what they tweeted. Not to mention, the day before that, they explicitly tweeted that he's not coming back, even though the Supreme Court said in a 9-0 ruling that they have to facilitate his return. And none of this is surprising. But the question is, what does he have in store for us this week? And will we be surprised by it? I don't think so, but I think most of us are expecting him to reach new lows, and that is indeed the case, not just for the administration, but for his supporters and what they're willing to support as well. And we found out that Trump's DOJ is ordering ICE agents to enter Americans' homes without warrants if they suspect that a so-called alien enemy is being harbored. And on top of that, he signed an illegal executive order instructing federal agencies to not abide by the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, which was passed back in 1974 and amended in 1976 to bar discrimination against women based on marital status. Now, prior to this law's passage, banks could require women to have a male guardian co-sign loans for them. But if federal agencies aren't enforcing the law, then discrimination against women that still very much exists could go unpunished, as lawsuits would just come to a standstill since the federal government is no longer going to defend them since the law isn't being enforced. Oh yeah, and the White House press secretary didn't shut down the possibility of arresting Supreme Court justices when she was asked about it by a reporter, which is to Totally normal for functioning democracies, folks. Happens all the time. But as bad as all of this is, I don't think anyone is surprised by this since we passed the Rubicon a long time ago. Still, having said that, though, there are things that are so demonic that this administration is doing that you can't not look at it and think, I can't believe it's come to this, even though I expected it to come to this at some point. So I want to focus on one story in particular that really shows that there is no depth to the cruelty of this administration or his supporters. So we've reached the stage where we're now deporting U.S. children without due process. One of them, by the way, has stage 4 cancer and was not given access to their medication when they were deported with their mother. And the Trump administration isn't calling these deportations mistakes or administrative errors. They're just admitting, yeah, they did it, and now they're defending it. They're doubling down. And worse, his supporters aren't just saying they're okay with this, they are cheering it on as things like this happen. But before we get to all of that, I want to give you some basic details about this story because it is as bad as it sounds. The Washington Post reports 3 U.S. children from 2 different families were deported with their mothers by Immigration and Customs Enforcement during the early hours of Friday morning. One of them is a 4-year-old with stage 4 cancer who was deported without medication or the ability to contact their doctors, the family's lawyers said. According to their lawyers, both families were taken into custody while attending routine check-ins this week in New Orleans as part of the Intensive Supervision Appearance Program, which allows individuals to remain in their communities while undergoing immigration proceedings. Lawyers say the families were taken to Alexandria, Louisiana, a 3-hour drive from New Orleans, where they were prevented from communicating with their family members and legal representatives, and then put on a flight to Honduras. Lawyers representing the father of the 2-year-old U.S. citizen who was deported, identified as VML in court documents, filed an emergency petition in the Western District of Louisiana on Thursday, seeking her release. The child was put on a plane to Honduras the next morning before the court opened. They didn't even give him a chance. Hours after the deportation, U.S. District Judge Terry A. Doty, a Trump appointee, issued an order expressing his concern that the girl had been deported against her father's wishes, while stressing it is illegal and unconstitutional to deport U.S. citizens. Now, I want to give you some additional context here. This judge, Terry Doty, as the article stated, is a Trump appointee. This is a very, very conservative judge. But as a result of this particular case, with a 2-year-old being deported without a hearing, guess what this judge did? He now set a hearing for May to determine whether or not the Trump administration just deported a 2-year-old U.S. citizen without due process. And he explicitly said that that is his strong suspicion. So when you have a rogue Trump-appointed judge saying this is too far even for me, this is too illegal and unconstitutional even for me, that's when you know this administration has lost the plot. And again, we're talking about a 2-year-old child who happens to be a U.S. citizen. And it wasn't just the child that was deported, it was also the child's mother, as well as her 11-year-old sister. Not a citizen, but was deported. Basically a dreamer, didn't get due process, neither did the mother seemingly. And the child's father only had the chance to talk to her for about a minute before ICE ended the call and snatched the phone away from her. In other words, this all happened so fast that the father had zero chance to actually intervene to stop his 2-year-old child from being deported to a foreign country. This is insane. Now, we don't have much details about the specifics, whether or not the parents were together or split up or who had custody, but the mother, whose child is a U.S. citizen, was clearly doing everything that she was supposed to do in order to stay in the country. She was undergoing immigration proceedings and whatnot. So the fact that she was a priority to be deported and wasn't allowed to even talk to her lawyers speaks to the depravity of this administration. And we don't know if the mother had a criminal record. Details are still sparse at the time that I record this video, but let's assume that she did for a minute. What's the excuse for the 11-year-old daughter who's a dreamer? Did she have a criminal record? Why did she have to be deported? As for the 4-year-old with stage 4 cancer, also deported with their mother, let's assume the worst about their mother as well. Let's assume that that person's mother was a hardened criminal with a long, long rap sheet. Is it worthwhile to maybe consider for a minute making an exception since her child literally has stage 4 cancer? Can we maybe think perhaps this isn't the priority at this moment in time since they're seeing a U.S. doctor for their stage 4 cancer? I mean, is there not an expectation to at least let them get their medicine before you ship them off to a foreign country? Can they not do that? I mean, it's not just the illegality here that's the problem. It's the inconceivable cruelty. And as I read this article multiple times in preparation for this show, each time I read it, I grew more and more just perplexed by the fact that this isn't like from fiction. This is happening right now in the United States. And as you're going to see, Trump's administration is defending it. The lack of regard for the health of a child, by the way, a 4-year-old who's a U.S. citizen with cancer, is mind-numbing to me. But again, I'm not surprised. And I'm sure that they're going to find new ways to be cruel to children as well as time goes on, because they're innovative in their cruelty. They think of new ways to torture people that none of us could even conceive of. So the question that's been at the back of our minds, though, with regard to whether or not this administration is going to deny due process to U.S. citizens, since that's what's happening to non-citizens, has now been answered, by the way. The answer is, unsurprisingly, yes, they do it to U.S. citizens, and they wouldn't just deny due process to U.S. citizens. They deny due process to U.S. citizens and make no exceptions for them, even if they are children literally stricken with cancer. It is the worst of the worst of the worst case scenarios, and they're not even bothering to lie about it. They're just defending it. For example, here's what Marco Rubio and Tom Homan said when they were asked about the deportations of literal children.
On the headline, that's a misleading headline. Okay, 3 U.S. citizens, ages 4, 7, and 2, were not deported. Their mothers, who are legally in this country, were deported. The children went with their mothers. If those children are U.S. citizens, they can come back into the United States if there's their father or someone here who wants to assume them. But ultimately, who was deported was their mothers who were here illegally. The children just went with their mothers. But it wasn't like, you guys make it sound like ICE agents kicked down the door and grabbed the 2-year-old and threw him on an airplane. That's misleading. Yeah. That's just not true.
No U.S. citizen child was deported. Deported means you got to be deported by an immigration judge. We don't deport U.S. citizens.
The mother was deported along with the children.
The children aren't deported. The mother chose to take the children with her.
So you don't think there should be compassionate consideration for a 4-year-old child undergoing treatment for cancer?
I didn't say that. I said
that was the question.
ICE officers do have discretion.
Yeah.
ICE officers do have discretion. I'm not familiar with the specific case. I don't know what facts surround this case. I've just made aware of this when you mentioned this morning. I was not aware of that case.
These people are genuinely evil. So by their twisted logic, they didn't technically deport U.S. citizens, since they're children of mothers who were deported that chose to take them with them when they were deported. Except what happens when you deport a mother with U.S. children? Answer that question. You effectively deport the child too, which is why the right often complained about so-called anchor babies, because they knew that you couldn't really deport a mother without deporting her child too. And if the child was born on U.S. soil, that child is a U.S. citizen who you cannot deport. Therefore, through the citizenship of the child, usually you don't really want to go for mothers with U.S. children, since that's kind of gray territory. It's a little bit tricky if we're just trying to talk about this in legal terms and not speak of the morality altogether. But now their official stance is actually fuck those kids and fuck their mothers too. Fuck them even if they have cancer. And to make matters worse, the lack of due process in these cases ensured that literal U.S. citizens who were children were deported. Didn't even give them a chance to make their cases. And again, both of the women, they weren't allowed to contact their attorneys, and only one of them got to talk to the father for a minute until ICE snatched the phone away. So the fathers, the grandparents, they didn't have the chance to request custody for the U.S. citizen children before they were deported. They didn't get to petition the court to hear them out. It just, none of it. I'm so blown away by this. They didn't give the mother who they deported the chance to at least temporarily stay in the country while her 4-year-old underwent cancer treatment. There wasn't a process even in that instance. But Tom Homan, he played dumb, and he said that he wasn't aware of that particular case because ICE agents, they have discretion, so they're doing things that he's not aware of. But I'm glad that he brought that up, because that's a major problem. If these ICE agents, who are basically the modern-day equivalent to the Gestapo, have so much discretion to handle these cases as they see fit, and they're unlawfully detaining U.S. citizens and Canadian citizens and kidnapping students and throwing them in unmarked vehicles and breaking windows of cars and entering homes without warrants and not letting immigrants talk to attorneys, maybe they shouldn't have this much discretion. Maybe all of this power is corrupting them. Maybe these people are morally defective and they are evil and they shouldn't be in control of people's lives. They know that ICE is abusing power, though. They're not actually dumb, and that's the point. They are deliberately cultivating a culture of fear, and they want agents to be as cruel as possible as a deterrent to other future immigrants. And I say this because a couple of weeks ago, there was a video of an ICE agent breaking a car window to abduct an immigrant, and it went viral. And ICE put out a response to the video after it went viral and basically said, you know, the ICE agent didn't use excessive force. He basically handled that situation appropriately. And CNN is going to break it down with some additional facts here.
But they did issue a statement, and they said that the actions of the officers in that video that you just watched were, quote, deemed appropriate by the officers on the scene, going on to say that those officers are trained, quote, to use the minimum amount of force necessary to resolve a situation. They also provide a little more background as to the man that they took into custody, Juan Francisco Menendez. He's 29 years old, and they say in the statement, quote, is an illegally present Guatemalan alien who was detained by ICE Boston in New Bedford, Massachusetts, April 14th, going on to say that during the course of the arrest, he refused to comply with officers' instructions and resisted apprehension. Now, his wife talks about this a little bit, and their attorney elaborated to say that when they were pulled over, they did call the attorney. The attorney had recommended to them that they give the business card, her business card, to the officers and told them to remain silent. But as you can see, it escalated there with them smashing the window. Now, the attorney also says, and his wife says, that he has no criminal record, that while he did cross into the U.S. legally, they were trying to adjust his status, and he appears to qualify for a form of asylum. So that was underway when, of course, this happened and he was detained. Now, I will also note that the Department of Homeland Security often defers to Immigration and Customs Enforcement on how they decide to proceed with any type of encounter and their discretion. We saw this earlier in the year with some of the memos that they put out, particularly when doing enforcement, for example, near churches or schools, essentially putting the onus on the officers to decide whether something is appropriate or not. I will also note that not long ago, we were similarly covering the story of a Salvadoran woman who was in the vehicle with her daughter in Maryland, and her window was also shattered, and she was taken into custody. We've continued to report on what exactly it is that they have held her for, but certainly this is something that we have seen over time now.
And now it's only a matter of time until they smash the windows of your home if they suspect that you're harboring an undocumented immigrant. This harkens back to a time in human history that we said we'd never repeat, but here we are in America in 2025 doing the same thing we said we would never let happen again. And to be clear, the cruelty is the point. They've decided that immigrants aren't human, therefore it's okay to treat them like animals. And in case you're wondering whether or not MAGA thinks that this administration has taken things too far, the people who voted for Trump in particular think maybe I didn't sign up for all of this, the answer is no. And I say this because Vinny Oshana of the Far Right PBD podcast was on Piers Morgan defending the deportation of a 2-year-old.
That 2-year-old was here with an illegal alien mother. And if the mother gets deported, Piers, the kids go with the mother. So stop that rhetoric.
She is a 2-year-old being treated for cancer.
Excuse me.
And if you look at the comment sections under articles about this, for example, the New York Post, they were downright giddy about these deportations. Here's some examples. Great job, ICE. Keep up the great work. Tom Homan is the border czar, and boy, is he doing a great job cleaning up the Democrat mess. Democrats obviously want kids to be separated from their parents. That's Obama thinking. Keep up the great work, Tom. It's appreciated, sir. The best team is this one. Noam is also working to keep America safe. Children don't have agency unless they live in California and want to transition. Okay? The left is so desperate and just keeps lying and gaslighting, and we just keep laughing. We got it from here. I couldn't care less one way or the other as long as they're deported. I came here to say the same thing. First, children born to illegals in the U.S. are not legal citizens. Send them all home. That's the response to a story about a U.S. citizen who's 4 years old with cancer getting deported. And look, this is not the first time that MAGA has celebrated deportations. There was a TikTok video of a young man crying about his mom getting deported that was shared on Twitter. It went viral, and MAGA was laughing hysterically in the comments, saying, "This is awesome. This is what I voted for. Thumbs up." Mark Cuban also asked Trump supporters after the election if they'd support the deportation of, for example, a grandmother who's been here for decades with grandchildren and children in the country, and they overwhelmingly said, yes, send her to whatever country she came from. This is a modern-day Nazi Nazi movement who thinks that this should be a country exclusively for white people. They're barely hiding the fact that they want a white ethno-state anymore. I mean, listen to White House Press Secretary laugh in response to blatant racism from a right-wing influencer named Aaron Wexler. You're not going to see her on video, but you have Sean Spicer and the White House Press Secretary laughing in response to just straight-up racism.
And I can attest to the deportations in Florida. My Uber drivers finally speak English again, so thank you for that.
Disgusting, but that's who these people are. Now ask yourself, with all of these deportations, have things gotten better in America generally speaking? I mean, we all know that they've gotten worse. Obviously, it's a rhetorical question, but specifically, they voted for Donald Trump. So, I mean, has he delivered? Has the cost of living gone down? Are you making more money right now? Were you able to buy a home or a car? Because apparently immigrants were the cause of all of our economic problems. So if we get them out of the country, then everything will be better, right? I mean, one would think that at some point MAGA would have to reckon with the fact that things haven't gotten better as Trump promised, despite the mass deportations that were linked to their economic suffering on the campaign trail. But I mean, the reason why there's no self-reflection in part is because they're too stupid to be introspective, and also because a large number of Trump supporters, they weren't just duped into voting against their own self-interest. Many were, sure, but a lot of them willingly voted against their own self-interest. They voted for Donald Trump despite knowing he would give tax cuts to the rich and deregulate, which would fuck them over, but they still voted for him anyway because they knew, even though things would get worse for them, things would get much, much worse for immigrants, and that hate fuels them. Why do you need to eat food when the only nourishment that you need is that hatred for your cold, dead heart? Like, they would happily cut off their noses to spite their face. That's what a lot of them voted for. So these deportations are only going to continue to get worse and more cruel over time, and the modern-day Nazi movement, aka MAGA, is never going to bat an eye. They're not going to abandon him. It doesn't matter how many lines he crosses. There's no bottom to this disgusting death cult. So if you were thinking that they'd somehow turn on this administration if he crossed the line or just went too far, I'm here to tell you that that is never going to happen. There is no line. If they're celebrating the deportation of U.S. children, one of which has stage 4 cancer, there is literally nothing that these people won't celebrate.
Boy, doesn't that really frost your ass? I mean, Jesus Christ. You know, and the fact is, what makes it worse is the sycophants who think this is a great thing. You know, and some of them sycophants themselves could be the next people that ICE goes and breaks their fucking door down without a warrant now. They can do this without a warrant. Break their fucking door down and arrest them and deport them. Okay? All the while they're sitting there clapping and applauding that, you know, a couple of 2-3 kids are being deported with their mother. And one of them needs treatment for cancer. Okay? I find that sickening. It's the most egregious thing that, you know, somebody can do. And in the fact that ICE went ahead and did this says a lot about ICE. That not a single one of those fucking people has a conscience. Think about that. I mean, if you worked for ICE and you was doing this kind of fucking work, and you saw a mother with little kids and one of them who has cancer, would you be so gun-ho as to go in there and just take that kid and turn their whole life upside down doing that? Would you have the kind of character it takes to be that callous? It goes to show you the kind of people that work in ICE. These people are not folks that seem to have a moral core, and maybe that's what they need in order to do the job they do. Because when they go after people, sometimes they have families, and if there's a deportation that needs to happen, then it doesn't matter, I guess, to them who or what they are, as long as they're deported. And again, I go back to the same number, 20 million people. That's Trump's number. That's his target. And ICE seems to be given a free pass to go and do what they want, with Tom Homan in the background running interference, you know, with the press. Okay? So you got this cold-blooded fucking asshole telling ICE to go ahead and do your worst. All right? And if anyone bitches about it, leave it to me. I'll deal with it. So these people who go around wearing masks when they do their job, and do it in a very secretive way, no less. I mean, they just, no warning given, no warrant issued. They just go in there and they do it. And it makes you wonder, well, look, if a police officer has to get a warrant to go and arrest somebody, that means they have to bring evidence, right? They have to bring evidence to a judge for a probable arrest, okay? And the judge looks it over and says, okay, you can have the warrant, or no, that's not enough, you can't have the warrant. These people do this stuff without a warrant, which means they are not required to have evidence that these people are illegal, okay? Because if they did, what's the point of not getting a warrant? You can get a warrant and still do what you're doing, right? And then if there is a warrant, then that means, well, we have to go to the judge and see, Judge, what the hell evidence do they have to take this? You see what I'm saying? The process to make this legit has been taken away out of the equation. What we have is just thugs going after people without due process, which is illegal, going after people illegally, rounding them up based on what? Somebody just says, okay, this is the next person on the list, go get them. Well, okay, who makes that fucking list? And what proof do they have? You see, we always come back to that question, and the administration will not answer it. Okay? And this convoluted way of putting signs out on the front yard of the fucking Oval Office, that's not good enough, okay? That's not good enough, because anybody can make shit like that. I could do that right here on the fucking front yard of my apartment here. Same fucking thing, okay? Anybody can do that. That's not proof. That's just propaganda on display. That's what that is. We want to hear from a judge. We want to hear from attorneys, or whatever, whoever does the intelligence gathering here, to come up with this MS-13 terrorist, okay? We need to come up with fucking people who are not puppets in front of the camera every day, okay? Like, you know, Sham Bondi, you know, and Leave It. Okay, we need people that we can trust to show us the evidence. And I mean, it's public knowledge anyway, right? It should be. Okay, when somebody gets arrested, I mean, it's not hidden as to the reasons why they're arrested. Okay, so what the hell's the problem of us knowing? You know, give us the names of those people you rounded up. Let us see the evidence, so we can decide with better reason whether or not this was a legitimate deportation or not. Okay, what's the problem? I mean, if you're doing your job honestly, then you have nothing to worry about. But if you are not doing your job honestly, and you're not answering the question, what evidence you have, then that looks awful goddamn suspicious. And we have every right to assume that this is wrong, and obviously with no due process, it's clearly illegal. Okay, so when you got wrongness there and illegality going on, the whole thing is fucked up. It's botched. These people are sitting in El Salvador for no good reason, because we haven't been shown that these people are criminals. I don't care who Bam Bondi says, oh, they were MS-13. I don't care what she says. Okay, she said a lot of things since she took her job that are pretty cold-hearted, okay, and pretty sick in some ways, okay? She doesn't sound like a person that knows her job very well. She doesn't sound like a person that understands the Constitution and due process. She doesn't sound like a person that's on the side of righteousness, okay? She's just doing the will of Trump, and that alone is all she's doing. You can't even say she's an attorney general, because she ain't even doing that job. She's just a fucking hitman, or a hit woman in this case, for Trump. She's just going around attacking everybody. Anybody that doesn't agree with her, let's go get him. You know, a judge doesn't agree with her, let's go get him. Okay, that's what she's doing. It's a childlike way of doing things. Okay? And anchor babies. I can't tell you how many times I've heard Republicans bitch about anchor babies. Okay? And of course they're going to sit here and clap and applaud over that. Because, you know, these folks that always bitched about that have no class at all. Okay? They don't care about the children. And this is supposed to be Christian people here. I mean, I guess that's what MAGA wants to be. They're supposed to be Christian. You know, what's Christian about sending kids into fucking dangerous countries and you know, work labor camps? Okay, just because, you know, they were deported there by ICE. Okay, what the fuck is that? You call that compassionate? You call that Christian? There's something wrong with you. If you're gonna sit there and clap and applaud that, then you're a bigger fucking asshole than Trump. Jesus Christ! The next thing you guys will be clapping and applauding is women being raped on the street. You've probably already done that. Okay, I can't think of anything worse. But you probably already support men raping women. Okay, if you're capable of celebrating a child with stage 4 cancer being ripped out of this country while they're being treated, okay, then you're a person that would okay a woman getting gang raped out in the fucking city somewhere. Okay, you'd probably even join in on it too. Okay, you people are fucking the lowest of the low in this country. You're not even Americans. I don't even want to look at you if you think that way, because you're not an American. You're a criminal in waiting. You people would just as soon go out there and do all these crimes that Trump did and then some, and then call yourself an American. You fucking people make me sick. You know, when it comes to Trump and his administration, the smartest thing to always do is expect the worst from them. Okay? Always expect the worst, and you'll never be disappointed, because that's what he brings. That's what he brings to the table, the worst. There's a reason why he's the most hated president we've ever had in 80 years in this country, okay? There's a reason for that. And only in 100 days, no less. Most people, when they get a job, try to strive up the ladder to get to the top, okay? This guy, Trump, is at the top, and he is barreling as hard as he can to the bottom. Okay? He's doing every fucking thing he can to destroy his own presidency. Now, granted, he's a criminal, okay? And criminals don't strive to be good people. Can you name a criminal who's always has tried to do good but can't, you know? No. Once a criminal, always a criminal. And with a criminal given the rank of a president, he's going to take that rank and shit on it and do all kinds of nasty crap with it to destroy the, you know, the dignity that comes with that fucking job. Okay, he's gonna turn that fucking Oval Office into a haunted house. That's what he's doing. And don't assume that because he's doing this stuff in Washington, D.C., that it stays in Washington, D.C. Okay, that's the nerve center of the whole country. And what goes on there affects the whole goddamn country. And since we have a global economy, or we did, it affects the rest of the world too. Okay? A lot of countries depended on the United States economy to stay strong. Well, we've failed them yet again. Okay? Well, remember we had that credit rating, I think, was it in the first Trump administration, or was it, I can't remember which one. It might have been Bush, it might have been Trump. But they rated us down. And now everybody in this country got all pissed off about that. Okay? And then they put it back up to where it was. Well, I can't imagine our rating being where it was. It's probably down even lower than the last time. Okay, I would imagine that, you know, the rest of the world doesn't have much trust with us, which that has to impact. It's got to impact, you know, this country's economic rating. It's got to. When the rest of the world is cutting their ties to the United States and partnering up with China, okay, they see that China is the better choice than the United States. I mean, that makes us look like shit. Okay? And let me tell you something. When businesses hurt in this country, money talks. Money fucking talks. More than protesting out on the fucking street, you know, or, you know, doing strikes and stuff like that. Okay, money talks. When people, you know, who are wealthy see that they're not getting the same amount of money today as they were yesterday, they're going to get mad, okay? whether they voted for Trump or not, money is the motivating power here for a lot of people in this country to get out and get involved in politics. And if Trump ain't delivering the goods, which he hasn't so far, they're not going to wait. They're not going to fucking wait. Okay? Because it's like, who was it that was saying in the other video, this problem isn't just going to affect the poor, it's going to affect the wealthy too eventually. It won't hurt them right off immediately, but in the long term, they're gonna see, you know, a huge change in the value of what they have. Okay, and they're not gonna sit idle for that. Okay, they're not gonna sit idle for that. So if you're asking me when will change happen to reverse this, it'll only happen when the stock market just completely crashes. Okay, when you can't buy anything, you can't sell anything, and your dollar doesn't mean anything anymore, that's when shit'll change. Okay, and it will change fast and hard. Okay, and they will go for the quickest route to get that done. Impeachment might take too fucking long. They might just override that and go right for the barbarism, you know. But that's what I'm saying, is that when times get desperate, people get even more desperate. And you know, like I said, we haven't gotten that desperate yet. We're bitching about the prices going up now, but we're still able to buy some things. Okay, but when we can't buy anything, hold on to your hats. Okay. All right, so let's go to a commercial break. Come back.
This is me!
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Burning blue ocean is falling, falling, it's falling. Burning, my whole body's burning, burning. Can't you see me? I am burning, burning, I am burning.
Ask yourself, are you better off than you were 100 days ago? Trump came back, not to lead, but to punish. He purged loyal Americans from government, fired heroic generals, demanded loyalty over competence, turned the Justice Department into his revenge machine. Let this guy steal your private data and wreck Social Security. Our allies betrayed. Ukraine sold out to Putin, turning our government into a police state, kidnapping American citizens, sending innocent people to foreign hellholes, snatching students off the street for tweeting. Then came the tariffs, markets crashing, retirements wiped out, America isolated, weak, China winning the trade game. He pardoned terrorists and criminals. This isn't a second term. It's Trump's second chance to end America, and it's working. So no, you're not better off. You're not safer. Nothing is cheaper. The economy is worse. Our country is in danger. Just imagine what the next 100 days will bring.
After my husband tried the salt trick,
I let him come in through the back door, and it was amazing. My plumber was over 60, but he left me with limp legs for 2 hours after doing that dirty trick you taught me. That's what my friend told me. Can you believe it? Don't drink salt water before bed unless you want to stay hard all night and make your wife spray like a fire hydrant. Yes, salt. Discovered by Harvard scientists, this 15-second trick has been proven to increase blood flow to the little guy by 342% in over 100,000 men. Forget pills, Kegels, and pumps that only cause embarrassment. This salt trick is natural, easy, discreet, and helps any man be ready whenever needed. As hard as a rock. Your only task will be to use this trick for just 15 seconds in the bathroom and watch the magic happen. It might sound strange, but I'm sure your wife or girlfriend will thank you for this. So pay attention, go to the kitchen and grab some salt. Here's the secret. Adult film stars have been using this trick for years. That's why they're always ready for 2, 3, or even 4 shoots in a row. And now you can too. It doesn't matter if you're 25 or over 60, the famous morning wood will be inevitable. Want to know how it works? I'll show you how to do it the right way. I recorded a free, uncensored, and very satisfying video at home. However, it will only be online today and only for the smartest. If you're ready, click the link in the description or the pinned comment and see for yourself. You'll thank me for this, but make sure to watch with headphones. As I mentioned, the video is uncensored and shows exactly how this trick works to make your partner as hard as a rock.
Holy fuck.
Were you just checking out her ass?
No, I wasn't.
You know what? Fuck this.
Wait, babe, calm down. Oh my god. Mary! I am sorry!
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, so I have this article here I want to read to you. It was published yesterday. And with everything else, like I said, things happen so goddamn much now with this administration that you can't even keep up with it. But this article comes from The Hill, okay? And it's titled, Michigan Democrat Files Articles of Impeachment Against Trump, written by Lauren Irwin. Michigan Democrat Representative Sri Thanedar, I guess that's how you pronounce it, announced yesterday, he had filed articles of impeachment against President Trump. Quote, I have introduced articles of impeachment against President Trump, unquote, Thanedar said in his announcement online. Quote, when Trump ignores the Constitution, Congress, and the courts, he is not fighting for America. He is tearing it down and endangering our democracy. Thanedar said he was introducing 7 articles of impeachment against Trump for various actions, including the deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man mistakenly sent to El Salvador, and the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, for cutting funds without congressional approval. The articles of impeachment are unlikely to go anywhere in the GOP House, where Republican support would be needed in order to win a vote on those articles. The House votes on whether to impeach a president while the Senate votes on whether to convict a president. In the Senate, where the GOP also has the majority, a 2/3 majority would be needed to win a conviction. Still, the introduction of the articles of impeachment highlights just how angry Democrats are with Trump on a range of issues. Quote, Donald Trump has already done real damage to our democracy, but defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, that has to be the one final straw, unquote, Thanedar said, referencing a decision on the Abrego Garcia case. Quote, it's time we impeach Donald J. Trump, unquote. Thanedar said among Trump's impeachable actions were his steep tariff agenda impacting global markets, his treatment of reporters, and the First Amendment, his bribery and corruption in the justice system, and his obtaining of Americans' personal data. Quote, Article 7, tyrannical overreach, unquote, Thanedar said. Quote, finally and most importantly, he is attempting to consolidate unchecked power and erode the constitutional limits of the presidency, unquote, Thanedar said. Quote, in this country, we have presidents, not kings. That's not just misconduct, it's impeachable misconduct, unquote, he continued. Concern has grown among Democrats after the Trump Organization unveiled Trump 2028 hats on its website in support of the president's suggestion that he could seek a third term in office. Quote, if we let this stand, we are saying the president is above the law, that the United States Constitution is optional, unquote, Thanedar said. Quote, I won't be silent, and I'm calling on all my colleagues, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents to stand up with me. Quote, enough is enough. Donald J. Trump must be impeached, unquote, he concluded. So, there's rumblings, like I said before, there's rumblings of talk of impeachment. You got a Democrat now that's, taken that step. But like it also said, the only people that are really going to put this thing in motion are the Republicans, because right now they can comfortably sit back and say, oh, these Democrats overreacting and just getting upset. Now we don't care. Okay, but if enough Republicans are hurting and they're feeling, and we know that they are, because the town hall meetings are showing a lot of angry former Republican, MAGA, whatever, they're getting pissed. They're being victimized here, and they want it to stop. Okay, and they're taking it out on the Republican representatives. Okay, so it's going to take a Republican to start this fucking impeachment process, not a Democrat. The Democrats can only follow the leader here, and now unfortunately that's got to be Republicans. Otherwise, the legitimacy of this whole thing about impeachment is just going to go up in flames really quick. And I don't see that, Thanedar is going to be able to, push this all the way through Congress, let alone go through the Senate. But at least somebody's making that step, which, I was doubtful that anybody would within the 100 days of Trump. But if I was him, I wouldn't expect a lot, but I wouldn't give up either. Okay, because times will get worse, and he might find his voice will do a lot of swaying, and as people's patience with Trump weakens and weakens and weakens. Okay, even the most staunch MAGA nut is eventually going to get upset when their lives are impacted by what tariffs are doing to this country. Taking away people's jobs, their standard of living, whatever that may be. Okay, the value of their dollar not buying what it used to. Going without, no vacations, they can't afford that. Not being able to do anything for the quality of life. People are going to get very tired of just being treated like robots to the elite in this country. And at some point, even like I said, the most staunch MAGA is going to get pissed off and want change. But we have to suffer more. We ain't suffered enough yet. We haven't suffered. I don't feel that we have enough suffering going on in this country yet in order to make that change happen quickly, and go through the entire process. So we gotta wait. We gotta wait. Okay, maybe by the end of the year. People are going to have enough, after they've wasted a whole summer not being able to do something, can't enjoy anything, can't go anywhere. Maybe after that hits home with a lot of Americans, that would be, the big push. And like I said, I still say that, this year it's going to be about suffering. Next year it's going to be about impeachment. Okay, so we've only started into this administration, okay, and we haven't finished the year, and I'm not going to expect anything to improve this year at all, okay? Because Republicans are extremely stubborn people. They will delude themselves into believing bullshit in order to endure the punishment that Trump will inflict on them. You know what I'm saying? They'll find ways to justify being raped by Trump. Okay, they will do this until after a while they find that they're getting nothing, that there is no reprieve, that there's never going to be a stop to it, and that, when enough people start to feel less than human under this administration, okay, and the rich start losing big time in the market, hey, it's inevitable at that point. Nobody thinks that he's going to finish this term. I mean, I'm not going to say nobody, but I'm going to say there's a lot of people saying he won't, that he could be impeached before he's finished his term. I mean, forget about the idea of him running in 2028. That's probably not going to happen. That's probably more of a pipe dream than him trying to finish this term in office, okay? Because he's done such a terrible job already. Who the hell's going to want him back? Like I said, if we were to have the election today, Trump versus Kamala would win hands down right now. Okay? It wouldn't matter what the Republicans or what Democrats who didn't want to vote for her because of the Palestinian-Israel thing, nobody's going to care about that. They're going to just want to see him out. Okay? That's where we are now. So I know if we did the election now, she would win. But as it is, we got too many sickos out there who are going to cling to their pearls or clutch their pearls or whatever they call it. Even when deportations are becoming very nasty, and until something comes out from El Salvador about what these people are how they're being treated down there, okay, I don't think people are really going to grasp the severity of a deportation, because it's not just somebody opening a door to let you out. It's somebody dragging you out that door and putting you in a concentration camp equivalent to Auschwitz. Okay, that's the way we need to be looking at this, because those people don't want to be down there. A lot of them shouldn't even be there. Okay, and we're responsible because we didn't insist on the government using due process to deport anybody. We have a system in place in this country for that sort of thing, and we didn't use it because people are just too hell-bent on getting rid of people they don't like. And that can be anybody, even the LGBTQ community. Those people are going to be targets. Just like I said, black Americans are going to be targets. They're not going to care if they're Americans or not. If they don't like them, you're gone. If you ain't white, you're gone. If you're not straight, you're gone. Okay? Where do we stop? Okay? They keep moving the goalposts all the time. Okay? Until they get rid of everybody they can't stand and they can declare this country a Christian nation. They'll even probably get rid of the Native Americans while they're at it. Okay? Who knows? I mean, if we were capable at one time to go into other countries and kidnap people to bring them here to work in the slave labor camps in this country, we're capable of anything. We'll commit all kinds of human what do they call those crimes against humanity. We're capable of committing all those fucking crimes, and just as much as Nazi Germany did. We're capable of doing the same fucking thing. All right, we're no better. And we're getting worse. We're getting closer and closer to Nazi Germany every day. And if that doesn't scare you, and if you don't see that, you're hopeless. You're a hopeless person. You have no reasoning skills. You're not aware of anything. Okay, you don't pay attention. You don't read the newspaper. You don't watch the news. You don't try to figure out what the hell's going on around you. if you don't think that. Or you're just such a sycophant that you will kiss Trump's ring to his dying day. I mean, and God help you. Okay? Because everybody that attaches themselves to Trump ends up going down in flames with him. Matter of fact, there's a lot of bitching going on in Las Vegas that's being reported that, you know, the tourist city that it is not seeing many tourists. In fact, there's been a lot of people backing out, going down there, you know, Canadians and stuff. And, you know, a lot of Americans just can't afford to go to casinos and gamble and do all these things. It's just not feasible. So they're noticing a huge decline here in activity, and they're getting, you know, when it's tourist season for them, and they're getting pissed. They're getting really upset, you know, and a lot of people are starting to take it out on Trump down there. And this is where he was working and went bankrupt, you know, multiple times. But, you know, like I said, who in their right mind would have ever thought Trump was capable of running in the national economy and say, oh, I know he'll do it. We'll vote for him. Really? You know, some of these people in Las Vegas, they knew what he was when he was down there. He's just a goddamn grifter is all he was, you know, and people that worked with him tried to advise him on what not to do, and he'd fire them. And so he started his business, and in no time they went under, belly up. Okay, so I mean it's telling when people in the business world don't catch on to the truth about somebody right off the bat. They have to suffer and wait and lose big before they decide, oh, I fucked up. I mean, isn't that kind of how the Depression happened? They sat on their ass. They did all these things. They saw the signs. They didn't want to do anything. And then, whoops, one day, bang. And it happens quick. Okay? It happens quick. And then it was like, oh, Jesus, oh, no, we should have listened. You know, that's how it always happens. These people will play this silly game right up to the last minute. And then when it blows up in their face, then they're like, oh, shit. You know, it's like, because they are of a gambling nature, they will gamble on not losing everything to the point where, you know, the gambling takes over their brain and the way they think, and then all of a sudden, you know, they take risks they shouldn't be taking, especially when you got an economy that involves everybody. You shouldn't be playing around with the nation's money. But that's the guy we got in office, and he's playing around with our money. Okay, let's make no bones about it. And he's playing around with the national economy. He's playing around with you and me and everybody that's got money here. Okay, and the money of other countries. Okay, so that use us as a reserve economy. So, you know, he's not caring about a goddamn thing that he does. And I don't see why the hell anyone should care about him staying president and clinging to the you know, the narrative that he keeps putting out there that, oh, things are going to get better. We just got to sit and wait. You know, things will get better. I'm making deals. All that stuff a lie. China says he hasn't talked to us. We're not going to talk to him. We don't want to talk to him. So he's telling the press, oh, he's talking to everybody. He's lying to you. He can't quit lying. The fucking guy's hopeless. I mean, Jesus. It's like a drug addict. He can't stop shooting up, you know, all the time. Christ. He's had no reason to stop lying his whole fucking life because nobody could ever hold him accountable for the shit he says. So, you know, when somebody can get away with doing stuff, they're going to keep doing it until they get into serious trouble. He's never been in serious trouble before. We might think he has, but has he suffered? I mean, look, he's got a team of lawyers that's out there fighting for him, rather. A team of lawyers fighting for him, protecting him, keeping him from getting into deep trouble. And, hey, he could do whatever the hell he wants. When he said I could stand out in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody dead and get away with it, he wasn't bullshitting you there on that. Okay? He knew how powerful he was. Okay? But we allow that to happen only because we lose our courage to hold people like that accountable when they break the law. That's the only reason why they get away with shit. But like they said, when good people do nothing, that's when bad people can accomplish things. And we don't do enough to hold these people accountable. A guy like Trump, of any people in this country, he deserves to be in prison right now for the crimes he committed. And they are heinous. Crimes against you, me, other people. You know, crimes against this country and its national security. I mean, you can't get any lower than that. I mean, we put people away for life for doing that shit. Sometimes, you know, the death penalty in some places. But he's out sitting in the fucking White House. What do you think kind of message that sends to to the rest of the world and to your kids and all that see a criminal in the White House? Okay, if there isn't a sign that shows our country has completely dissolved into anarchy here, because that's where we're headed, people. Don't think we still have laws to contend with. They only apply to us, not to the wealthy, not to the corrupt. And if they're not going to follow laws, then we have anarchy in the White House, because they don't respect it. They don't respect that office. They don't respect the laws. Okay, and so they are simply running this thing, you know, in anarchy. Tomorrow we could wake up and find out that every one of us will no longer be allowed to set foot outside our homes and get on the street. Okay, that's just that kind of man he is right now. So don't be surprised about what else he's going to be doing here. The 100 days has already shown us what he's capable of. The next 100 days is going to be another eye-opener for a new level of low for this administration. Okay? And so I just, you know, I can't, you know, expect people to go through life pretending that things will get better. You can't do that to yourself. Don't be stupid. That's what a lot of people in MAGA did. They walked through life believing something and holding on to it for dear life. Okay, hoping that they were clinging to the right thing. They finding out they weren't. Okay, they fuck around and find out. They're realizing, a lot of them, that they were duped, I guess, if you want to say that. Some of them willingly supported him, but some probably didn't think he was that crazy. All right, most of us knew he was. But a lot of people in MAGA, because they were blinded by a win for the team, the win for the party, they were willing to overlook that chance. And so, you know, it's going to be harder for them to admit that they brought this on in the country. But some of them are coming around. Better late than never, I guess, because their voices will matter in later days here when it comes to the impeachment process. You know, we're going to need as many Republicans on the side of justice as we can get, because Democrats alone, unless we win back big in the midterms, they're not going to be enough. Okay, they're not going to be enough. So we just need to keep this in our minds. Okay. Nothing lasts forever. Okay, everything ends, and these days will end just like, you know, other days even. So let's hope that ends quick, because I think a lot of us are getting tired of living on pins and needles here, you know. All right, that's it for today. Hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So subscribe, comment, share, and keep your ears open for health issues. Jesus. Smoky. And work with your neighbors, you know, help each other out. Okay. Keep your eyes open for things like bargains and stuff, you know, spread the word around if things are cheaper someplace, especially like with gas, because not every gas station has the same price. You know, just, you know, be helpful to people so that way they can manage better. And I'll talk to you guys later, so take care, everybody. Bye-bye.